Hi, you are officially over the midway point for this course. So thank you for your graciousness in watching last week's introduction video. Like many of you, there are times when we've both had full weeks. So if you noticed that my response times were slower, it's because I've had a family funeral come up and also just some issues with my fiance's visa. So I do apologize for that. At this point, it's important to take stock of where you're at, especially if you're missing a couple assignments. As I said in an announcement earlier this week, I'm all caught up on grading, but if you see a 0 or a low grade, then you're welcome to retake or resubmit for writing assignments, especially if it's something big like the BMA. I've opened up more Dropbox attempts for those interested in trying for a higher grade, but if for whatever reason, if I missed opening up a Dropbox, then just please email me and we'll get that sorted for you. A couple of you have asked about quiz grades. I would definitely recommend, just in terms of some study techniques, to take notes and use those notes as you take the quiz. I know these quizzes aren't easy. I'm actually not a big fan of them, but it's just something the department requires. So do rest assured that at least one, if not maybe more than one, we'll see how the end goes, will be dropped for sure. So the quizzes actually don't weigh out so much in the end. So it might be anxiety producing at the time, but just rest assured by the time that you get to the end, your writing assignments, which I'm giving you plenty of retakes on, are worth far more in your grade. So we'll make those adjustments as we go. I do try to offer lots of comments and suggestions. This isn't necessarily to say you're bad writers. This is just to say these are all the ways that you can improve. And here are some more topics to think about. My role as your professor, as well as just in the area that I'm studying, and I obviously know of some different angles that maybe you wouldn't be aware of in certain passages. And so if I point you towards a certain direction, it's just because your passage has some unique characteristics that are just for yours. And so that's why those angles are interesting to explore. Be sure to check those comments on the grade pages, as well as any other comments kind of in the larger group discussions. You've done a great job with the discussions, so thank you for your hard work in that. As if you kind of see that as we're going forward, the BMAs are starting to become worth a lot more points. And I can tell when you've put in a lot of effort into that with as much, writing or things that you've done, or other times I can tell if maybe you haven't looked at all the resources that are already available to you. They're in links on the tab for the BMA. So I know that sounds a bit patronizing, but it is a little obvious if I can tell that maybe you haven't read through all the directions carefully, or if there's just a couple things that you're missing in the assignment. So please do look through that tab. The department has taken a lot of painstaking effort to make sure that you all have resources so that you don't necessarily have to go buy more books. So please do look at those. But all that is to say is that I do appreciate and thank you so much for all of your hard work. I can tell that you are taking your writing seriously and you're studying too. And it's especially present as you wrestle with big theological conversations in the way that you engage each other in the discussion board. So thank you for engaging each other well and for wrestling with difficult questions. You're doing that very well. In this next module, Module 5, we're going to take a deep dive into the life and writings of Paul. And maybe you've spent some time studying Paul's letters and epistles. If you do, or someone that goes to church, that is often something that gets preached on. But I promise that you'll learn more in this particular section. And especially Vonderburg, the New Testament is his area of study, whereas the Old Testament is a bit more of mine. So I always find I gain something new out of his deep dive into Paul. And this all goes without saying, but I'm here to be with you on your learning journey and to be an advocate for you. So don't hesitate to reach out and contact me, especially if you have questions or you need an extension or something comes up in your week. Do please try to contact me through the Northwestern email platform, or even I think Blackboard has a way to send an email if you can't access your Northwestern email, and that'll send it to my Northwestern email. And the reason why I say that is otherwise your emails get blocked, and then I either can't read it or I can't open it, and then I can't address whatever question or concern you have. So do either use the email account or send an email through Blackboard, and I'll also I'll be able to see that. So and then lastly, I mentioned this before, but this weekend I will finalize the rubric for your final paper. We're changing it a little bit up. I'm actually taking out a section and having you focus on 2 instead of 3 sections, just to alleviate a little bit towards the end and give you plenty of time to write that. But I'll also set up some Zoom times for those of you who choose to partake of the extra credit option. Remember that you'll get 2 extra bonus points if you submit an outline of your paper before February 18th. And then if you also schedule a time to review it with me over Zoom, there's going to be a really wide window to review it since I'll be with some university students on a retreat between the 18th and 20th. And I probably won't have internet access because we'll be in a very northern part of British Columbia. But I will make sure that there's plenty of windows before and after that point so that you have lots of time to be able to pick a time to meet. And then it's a way to offer up a wrap up of this module of Paul's letters. I'm going to actually play a video that I took while I was in Israel, Palestine on the archaeological dig. I did, if you noticed last week towards the end, I was having issues. Sometimes Blackboard saving pictures has been a bit of a challenge and then they disappear, which is irritating. And anyway, all that is to say is I was hoping to put up some videos, but I can't get Blackboard to keep them without deleting them. But this particular video, my fiance took of me explaining kind of the lay of the land where Paul was very likely imprisoned in Caesarea before he was sent to Rome. Caesarea, just to give a point of reference, where you can open up the Bible map, it's right along the coast. So you can see this sort of gorgeous view of the Mediterranean. It's very beautiful. So you'll see it's also the scene where I think in Ben-Hur, there's like the chariot scene. So it's a very well-known scene and it's gotten used in many movies, but it's also a scene of significant moment in the life of Paul. So just give me a second and I'll let you view that video in just a moment. Behind me, this is what Paul likely been executed, and in Acts 16, somewhere in there, and then where Paul would have been held as prisoner for 2 years. From there, kind of in this back area. This whole area would have been the ancient city of Caesarea, where lots of famous rulers, I think built for Herod the Great. Later, Pontius Pilate was also one of the rulers that had dedication here too. So it's a very ancient city with lots of different artifacts, mosaics, and Roman baths, and yeah, and then as well as this area, you see like sort of a courtyard that would have had the you're familiar with the Charles Heston movie where he does chariot races, so they filmed a famous scene there. Yeah, it's in Caesarea National Park and all kinds of beautiful ruins. There's the sort of stadium area is back behind us. So here's a little bit of a view. I'm standing under a shade because it's well over, it would be well over 40 degrees Celsius, but that's somewhere over 100. So it's very hot in Israel in July. So if I'm saying a lot, it's probably because we're dehydrated and quite hot at that point. And well, like I'm saying now, sometimes as you're looking at these sort of beautiful ruins and it's hard to always remember all of the various details. But right behind me was where Paul was in prison. So it's in sort of those square ruins, and then to the left side of me would have been where he was trialed, because that's the prosecuting area. And then there's all these like stadiums and parts of it. It's a very extensive ancient city, and it's over what we would consider several acres. So it's a large archaeological park. It's not quite as large as the archaeological park in Jerusalem. That's a little bit larger and much more sort of layers up underneath it, but certainly a very significant site. And then a site that's well used over a period of time between Herod and different rulers down the line. So you can Google Caesarea, and then you'll start to see a lot more information about that. But it would have been a very prominent city in the time of Paul. So as you sort of read your through this week and you're reading through Paul, and as he's got this real sort of Hellenistic sound remember what his background looked like. That certainly influences the way he's interacting with both Jews and Gentiles, as well as sort of the larger society that he's part of. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week and grateful to be with you. Thanks. Bye.